Speaking of the wagon of this year, though, it's Indiana of all teams. The Hoosiers, Curt Cignetti, head coach, who kicked our asses when he was at DeLeone and JMU when we played at Rhode Island. He made fools of us, and he made a fool of Nebraska today, 56-7. This is egregious. This is insane. This is ridiculous that they dominated them this much. The craziest part is that Curtis Rourke, starting quarterback, who's had a phenomenal year, went out partway through this game, and they turned to their backup, who had a pretty strong finish to the game. Tyson Lawton, that running game, the pass rush that they have is so swarming. Their secondary makes big plays. They are, and they feel like, Sean, one of the most well-rounded teams in the country. I don't think that they have they don't have a guy at a singular position group that I think wins a single award this year for best position in the country. They're not going to have a guy that's going to be a first-round pick. I don't think that that's going to happen. But what they have is a experienced offensive line, an experienced quarterback when he's back from what happened to his hand, good receivers who make plays and come down with the football, two really good running backs that run hard, a pass rush who plays relentlessly, and a secondary he takes advantage of mistakes. You couldn't ask for a better team. That was what we dealt with when he was at JMU and when he was at Elon. And that's what we're now starting to see with this Indiana team. He is the ultimate motivator. He's the ultimate rallier of men. And this Indiana team, man, I think that they're capable of reaching the playoff. In a year where it feels like there's so many frauds, they feel like they're building the case because frauds don't win 56-7 against a good Nebraska team.
It's PTSD, brother. It feels
that's
like
the better, most important thing to bring up here.
It feels like these JMU teams that when we're in the scouting rooms, it's like, okay, there's going to be small conference guys, but that's only because it's the FCS. He's just taking the same scheme and the way that he runs his defense.
Well, he literally said
everything is just.
He was on McAfee this week. He literally said he's brought those coordinators everywhere with him since he was at.
He's a genius.
I think it was Indiana. No, is it Indiana University of Pennsylvania? I think
IUP. I think yeah,
where he was.
It's really a relentless team that plays like a team, and they go out and play like they've got the biggest balls on the field every single time. I don't know. I've never felt like a team could be intimidated by Indiana since I really started focusing on college football. Holy hell. What is the next team if that's facing them going to be thinking? Nebraska's got dudes. Nebraska's got a talented quarterback, a coach that's been there before in big moments, a team that can play. This is not a weak Nebraska team. This isn't a Nebraska lol cow. Look at Nebraska being sorry with their sold out stadium type team. No, they're legit. They have big, mean defensive linemen. Dylan Raiola is a dude. They turned him over 3 times today because that's what Curt Cignetti teams do. They don't care who you have. They're going to turn your quarterback over, and they're going to have 170 yards rushing between their top 2 ball carriers, and they're going to have a combined 17 rushes off of that. Incredible form from the Indiana Hoosiers and what he's built in such a short amount of time. I mean, coach of the year at this point. Coach of the year, and Indiana legitimately might be like the 4th best team in the Big Ten.
And I know this sounds crazy too, because what I just said about Kalen DeBoer and being patient, but every situation's not built the same. Kalen DeBoer takes over Nick Saban recruited squad and a bunch of kids that some of them might not be bought into what he's saying. And that's what we've talked about here before. Instead, you've got the JMU All-Stars and then a bunch of kids pulled from across the country that are just there to play ball and prove everybody wrong. It's a very different rallying point. I know some people are going to say I'm contradicting myself. If you know ball, you understand that that's not the case, and there's no contradiction here. They're just such stark different situations.
If Cignetti was in Alabama and DeBoer was in Indiana, I don't think that the results are completely matched up to a T what they would be right now. Mm-hmm. But what I like about Cignetti is it doesn't look like he wants to be your buddy. It looks like all he wants to do is win. There was a great screen cap from the game when they were up 41-7.
Oh, he was pissed.
He looked seething mad.
I almost took a picture of it with my phone, but I hate people who do that, so I didn't. But he just was stone cold. He looked like
seething.
You know what he makes me think of? He doesn't totally look like just like a pure ball coach. He looks like somebody's dad who's coaching your middle school team.
Yeah.
Who's just mad. You're up 40-0 and he's just mad because you're not giving a full effort. It's like, hey, why is Mr. Johnson so pissed at us,
dude? I know exactly. Everybody has played AAU basketball knows that feeling, because if you're in a house circuit or just an AAU, there's always a coach that you'd never wanted to be picked, that you'd never want to play for him, because he runs the players like hell. He yells at them in front of their parents. And I'm like, Dad, can you coach my team, please? We'll have fun. We'll play knockout in practice every now and then. No. There's some coaches that are just running it like the Navy. Not similarly, Navy pretty good this year, but yeah,
stay on focus.
He
stay
is
on focus here, okay?
On track, maybe is the wordage that you're looking for.
No, focus. Stay on focus. Stay focused.
How about you stay on focus, hack? Regardless,
finish the point.
Signetti's a dude, man. That's the point.
To talk about their just remaining schedule very quickly before we move on. Washington, Michigan State, Michigan, at Ohio State, and Purdue is what you have written down here. I think that they're not going to beat Ohio State. I'm sorry, Indiana fans. I think that there's room for one more dud on here, or one dud on here that just unexpected loss. You don't play well, you lose a game, you drop one. Everyone's bound to do it. Everybody has a bad game. Maybe that's Washington. Maybe that's at Michigan State. I don't know which game it's going to be, but it's on the map there for them. I argue that a 10-2 Indiana team deserves to potentially get in as one of the last teams over a 9-3 SEC team. I'm making the case right now. I see a playoff quality team. I see a team that's going to put up a competitive fight. I see a team that's going to fill a narrative and make the playoff interesting. Instead of sticking like a 11-1 BYU team in there, I would much rather get to see this Indiana team.
If they're, I agree with the dud factor. If they're reading their news clippings at 9-0,
they don't feel like that type of team.
And they played Michigan, where they should, crazy enough, beat Michigan, and then lose to Ohio State. I could see 2 losses. I could also easily see 1 loss, and then they're confidently in that playoff picture. It's good for college football if Indiana makes a playoff this year. It just is. They're a team that rose up to the occasion, said, you know what, if everyone else is going to put out weak resumes, weak duds, whatever you want to chalk it up to, we're going to go out and we're going to win games, and we're going to leave no doubt. And I hope they do leave no doubt. That it would be a tremendous story for the sport.